Now tell us, first of all, your New York is very much a United Nations New York.
Yes, that's true. I was posted here with my work with the United Nations Refugee Agency about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, from Sudan.
How long have you been away from Australia?
About 11 years all up. Yeah, so I left in just around 2000 to go to the end of 2000 to go to Cairo, Egypt, to work with refugees.
The work with refugees has obviously been the big centering idea in your life, and you mentioned that you'd gone from the Sudan to New York. Now, that the things that you've seen in contrast between your life now and then must still reside with you.
Yes, very much so in many different ways. I think I was living in a very remote part of Sudan in Darfur on the border between Chad and Sudan. So in a desert town with pretty much, nothing there, not even a green tree, and certainly no shops or other expatriates. There were only one or two. So going from such a remote, desolate place to New York was quite a shock, I must say. I heard someone from LA telling me after I'd been here for 2 or 3 weeks that they'd had a culture shock moving from LA, and I thought, wow, coming from Darfur was just mind-blowing. I was hiding away in my apartment for 2 or 3 months, just unsure what to do with myself. Just so much, there's just so much to do here. It's overwhelming. I couldn't even look at the timeouts for months because it was just too overwhelming. Also, the shops in Manhattan, it's just this constant. On every block there are so many shops and salons and even theatres in the East Village where I was living at the time. That even on one block, it's overwhelming how much you can do and see and consume.
Well, how much have you loved the experience of being there? And I guess also just the districts of New York that you're talking about. I mean, the UN is in the Midtown sort of area, but you've lived on the East Side, and you're now living in Brooklyn. Have you passed through very many of the zones of the place?
Yes, indeed, I have. I spent 2 good years in Manhattan. And as you said, sort of exploring the East Side and the West Side, and there's a lot of diversity within Manhattan itself. So I felt that I explored a lot, and then after having a child, moved to Brooklyn, where it's like another world. So I think it's been quite amazing. I mean, the things that I like a lot, about Manhattan in particular, are the diversity, and there's more languages spoken in New York City than in any other city in the world, and you can really feel the diversity, in any park that you go to, or even just walking on the street. So that's amazing. And I think I went to the Christopher Street Day Gay Parade just soon after I'd come out of Darfur, and was just watching all of the different people in the parade, from American Indians to diplomats to died from all sorts of different people, just celebrating diversity, and just realised that that's what this city is about in a lot of ways. It's about that diversity and people coming here to create a world for themselves. So there's so many different worlds within the city itself, and I've been lucky to explore them in a few different places.
Now, as someone who's at the UN, and with your field being refugee expertise, there's just world troubles that produce refugee situations almost everywhere. And I'm thinking, at the moment of the issues in the Middle East, particularly North Africa, and that whole zone, which seems to be awash with people who are potential refugees now, and it'll take a little while for them to all settle down. As someone working at the UN, are you constantly asked to go to those places because of your previous work in Egypt and in Darfur and in other places?
Yes, indeed. It's been interesting to follow from New York what's been happening in the Middle East and North Africa now, and observe from a distance rather than actually being there on the front line as we often are with the refugee agency. So for all of us here, there's a definite possibility that we can be sent on emergency missions at any point in time. And certainly in January, when I was working here on the Security Council and on the General Assembly, there was a question whether, as an Arabic speaker, I would go to work in the Middle East again. And at that time, I was heavily pregnant, and just 2 months after I'd had the baby, the question came up again whether I'd go, and I felt very much pulled to go and work on some of the refugee movements and population movements out of Libya, but realised that it's obviously, I mean, my priorities are a little bit different now with a child just for the first few months of her life. And so it was quite difficult to stay here and work more in the political realm rather than be able to go to the front line and make some sort of tangible changes. So most definitely there's an expectation that we could and should go to those places. It's just the work that we do.
It sounds like you've kind of got it all together since going to New York. Was it all just a sort of happy accident that you met somebody and settled down and found a life in Brooklyn? Or was there a plan before you got there?
I have to say it was a little bit premeditated. So, it's almost like it's almost like I came in some ways to New York to find love. I know that's very cheesy, but it's true. I just could see that, hitting my mid-30s and moving from one war zone to another, I wasn't in the best place to meet anyone other than cowboys, I suppose. So I came to New York and I suppose I met a cowboy here. It was a setup, and it all worked out for the best for me, I suppose, because in the past 2.5 years from New York, I now have a lovely husband and baby girl. So it definitely worked out.
That's fantastic, Natasha. Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you.